Have you ever read Stand on Zanzibar by John Brunner? No, not that one. Well, I didn't. I did read The Sheep Look Up though, and I hear both novels are similarly structured. The difference being that while Sheep uses the background of rampant ecological catastrophe playing out in real time for the coldest study of society and human condition I've read, Zanzibar does the same using overpopulation of the wazoo. Why do you mention that? Oh, no reason. The Billions is, I'm torn on classification here, the useless hack that I am. The easiest would be to categorize it as an RTS and call it a day. The thing is, oftentimes playing, I'm being reminded of Stronghold of all things. There are reasons for it, but much later about that. But yeah, elements of city builders are certainly there. Okay, the basic gist of it then. The world is absolutely fucked. Humanity failed to prevent the mass of bodies from going supercritical, and it blew in everyone's faces with a fucking zombie apocalypse. Centuries later, the last known bastion of humanity is led by Emperor Quintus Crane, who set up his new empire at the bottom of a giant crater and feels confident enough to announce the great reconquista of all the clay from south to east of it. Well, that didn't work out, and as you present yourself in the Emperor's throne room as a yet another out-of-your-depth, clueless dipshit willing to spearhead the effort, Quintus laughs at you. But, you still get the job. Failure is not an option. Now get to it, and don't return without results. Positive results, mind you. No pressure. Good luck. You are going to fucking need it. Developed and published by Spanish Numa, They Are Billions was fully released in 2019, having spent nearly 2 years in early access on Steam. The results are certainly indie. Well, these are certainly the most visuals in a video ever. I guess. Yeah, the more reviews I'm making, the more often I catch myself incapable of telling much about graphics, and I seem to always dread talking about them if the game doesn't sport something particularly worth noting. I'm the kind of a person that gives zero fucks about graphics as long as they don't directly make the experience worse. So, how is it in They Are Billions? First of all, cell shading. It's everywhere, making things a little more cartoony. A tad weird given the overall tone of the game. I mean, this is a fucking zombie apocalypse, but that's actually helping readability here, I think, which is especially helpful in some types of maps. Yes, I am talking about you.
Caustic.
Lands map. We get it, doom and gloom, but fuck, whatever color grading is being done to these maps goes a little too far, often making them a little illegible. Shit, that's not even the shade of green I like. That said, the infected deserve to be pointed out. There are multiple kinds of them, and despite being mostly grey, one can somewhat easily tell even the lowliest of them apart. Well, at the very least, when it comes to assessing their threat level. And honestly, that's all you need. Knowing if the infected is a runner or a walker is paramount to the survival of your troops, especially early in the mission when reinforcements aren't an option really. By the way, I must say I am particularly impressed with tabs optimization. My PC ain't no spring chicken anymore, especially the GPU, yet the game rarely drops under 60 frames per second. Seriously, the fucking swarms feel like fucking swarms, and are often downright terrifying. Big part of this intimidation comes from gameplay mechanics, but also thanks to the music. The music in They Are Billions is fantastic. Sure, it is very understated most of the time. Somber, one could say, but it does help build game's foreboding atmosphere. My favorite of the bunch is the track playing in the final mission, The Goddess of Destiny. I don't know, but there's something particularly haunting about the visuals combined with the literal echoes of times past. However, the real stars, to me at least, are the tracks that precede and accompany swarms of the infected. There is music out there that makes you go ahead and play air guitar. Incoming Menace is a composition that makes me go air orchestra. That said, the rest of the audio is... it's very uneven. Okay, the quality of recordings is pretty good across the board. Voice performances of the units under your control are pretty damn good as well, mostly. The groans of the infected...
Yes.
solid stuff. There are some exceptions in every field though. The announcer, for example, that guy is as flat as a fucking marble floor with his delivery. I would know, I'm autistic. The most egregious example of this is when an announcement of the big dick swarm happens.
Oh my god, a huge swarm is coming. They are billions.
There is this one infected bastard, right? The infected giant? We get it, he's giant and monstrous, but why? Why does he sound like he's featured in a bass boost meme? The gameplay sounds are well balanced though, which is an achievement considering just how many fucking guns will fire at the same time, and how hundreds if not thousands of infected are often active at the same time, but why are the alerts so fucking raw?
Sniper is ready.
Okay, that's not so obvious at first, but really forbid you get multiple units achieving their veterancies at once or close to each other. Which is a little weird because unit recruitment queues don't seem to share this issue most of the time.
Sniper is ready.
Attention, building completed. Attention, building completed. Attention, building completed. Attention, building completed. Attention, building
I fucking got that.
Attention.
The unit box! My lord, the unit box. Yes, the recordings are of good quality. They usually have decent variety to them and are only skirting on the verge of too long sometimes. I mean, it's at least not...
From the lighting and the tempest, Emperor...
Shut the fuck up! But why? You know, I'm starting to think I will be abusing this phrase in this review. Why are the units barking to each and every single fucking order?
No fear! The party has just begun! So glad to do it!
That said, I do like the distinct character each unit is given through the voice acting. Soldiers being dutiful and disciplined.
Orders, sir. Ready and waiting. Tell me.
Tell me!
Titans being the posh British-like gentlemen they are supposed to be. Snipers being,
Who do you want me to punish?
a bunch of creepy fucking edgelords.
Last night I dreamt of brains exploding.
I'm pretty sure a certain combination of bugs from Thanatos and the Ranger would cause a massive scandal in the 1920s.
I smashed it last night.
So tired. Last night was amazing.
Locked.
Okay, but it's gonna cost you double.
Fine. And there's also Lucifer. I take it back. Lucifer is the biggest fucking edgelord. Thankfully, he's also a friendly fire liability, so I avoid using them like a plague, but later about that. Buckle up, kids, this will be a bumpy ride. The gameplay is outright schizophrenic. I cannot really think of any other game writing this, although the Spunkbox might be to blame for that, for which I can say that the gameplay is gut-wrenchingly intense and mind-numbingly insipid, both at the same time. Okay, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. First of all, this review will entirely focus on the campaign, because not unlike my penis, it is cripplingly long and hard. So this is roughly 2 with a change playthroughs of a campaign. Jesus fuck. A survival mode, weekly challenges, those things exist. But much like sex for me, you hear about those things being a common thing, yet they seem not to exist in your own life. No? Just me? Of course. The campaign follows your new job as the the general, tasked with reconquering the land. Each mission is a spot on the world map that you uncover gradually by assuming control over the land. Kinda. What I just said suggests there is an element of back and forth like you would see in the campaign map of Dark Crusade. That is not the case. Clear a mission, and its state persists. For better or worse, there are 3 types of missions you will face: colony, exploration, and outpost attack missions. At least that's how I like to call them anyway, and will continue to do so onwards. Settle and develop a colony, make sure any immediate threats are dealt with and done. Colony established for the glory of the Empire. Good job. But here are the next areas to colonize. Get to it. Many times, however, you will discover a gigantic fucking horde of the infected, blocking the road to the next area. These are where the outpost attack missions happen. What are those, you might ask? Well, have you ever read World War Z? And no, watching the movie certainly doesn't count. Jesus, did they fucking butcher it. There's a World War Z game. Why? Anyway, the book is structured as a documentary, following the testimonies of people who survived various stages of global zombie pandemic. At one point, remnants of the American government pushed to the very shores of West Coast and finally managed to consolidate the resources, restructure and retrain the army with one goal in mind: cleaning out the zombies. The first battle of this new US army was the Battle of Hope. The soldiers at Hope formed a variation of square around a massive supply of ammunition, each edge of it made out of 2 ranks of soldiers, front firing, back reloading, and taking a short breather in order to ensure maximal mechanical efficiency and steady reduction of the number of incoming walkers for sustained duration of time. Once the army prepared, they put up a gigantic loudspeaker and started blasting the trooper in order to attract every single dead fucker in a 10-mile radius. The battle lasted for hours, finishing in the total defeat of Zeds without a single human loss. Coming back to the game, outpost attack missions allow you to recreate the Battle of Hope from the book, where you are tasked with preparing a defensive line capable of complete destruction of the infected horde blocking your way. And by blocking your way, I mean they are going to rush you from every single fucking direction. In fact, the strategy from the book actually works, until a certain point. The final type of missions are exploration missions, in which you control a single elite agent of the Emperor scavenging through ancient installations of the old world, looking for artifacts of the past that could help the reconquering efforts. While not being the main focus of the campaign, these missions are absolutely vital to your progress if you aren't, like me, a micro-god. The reason these are vital is as follows. They allow you to gain additional research points to unlock technology in the campaign's tech tree. And oh boys, what a fucking topic. The tech tree unlocks new units, new buildings, and a variety of buffs. Each technology costs research points, and I must stress, there is a limited number of them at every step of the campaign. Each choice has to be careful and deliberate, not only because you are starved on unlocked resources. If you beat a mission after unlocking a tech, you can no longer refund it. This is a reason I had to start a new save file for this review, because a third of the game in, I basically screwed myself over and got stuck. Some unlocks are less obviously powerful at face value, while some others might seem like a good idea until they aren't. For this review, I gave traps a chance. I've seen people talking shit about them, but you know what? They can be useful, especially early to mid-game. They ended up a surprising hit with me. And because of the damage over time? No, because they have the movement speed of the infected crossing their tile. This buys your forces time to stack more damage on the massive bodies heading your way. So yeah, perhaps not vital, but not too shabby of a choice. The colony missions are the bread and butter of this campaign. Each one tasks you with building a colony of certain population, and with
Utter and complete extermination of every single infected in the area.
you need to build housing for colonists and workers. In order to do so, you need to develop industry to provide necessary resources. At the same time, you need military and defensive structures for both defense and offense. You have to think of defense against swarms that game loves to throw at you in regular intervals, while at the same time rapidly expanding to establish control over resource nodes, but also the choke points to focus your defensive efforts. All that said, each engagement will have only one goal: to clear the infected out of the area. Forget about pushing deep into the enemy ranks or flanking maneuvers. The most sophisticated of these maneuvers you will be doing will be either kiting or distraction tactics. This is all for a simple reason: noise mechanics. Each infected has a sight range. If the infected sees your unit or structure, it will move to attack. However, they also react to noise. Each infected periodically tests against the sources of noise on the map and will move in its direction to investigate upon hitting a threshold. This noise economy is vital to your survival, because if they are not careful, the player is liable to attract more shit towards them than they are prepared for. Every single building that houses or employs colonists is a source of noise, which is why it's imperative to cover all approaches. For the grievous crime of existing, a single walker, if not intercepted, could reach your colonist's tent, break into it, and suddenly you have 4 additional runners to deal with, in a very likely densely populated area. And before you know it, bam! Domino effect! Hundreds of infected break into your command center and you lose the scenario. Which, I will get back to that. You know what else creates noise? Guns. As such, while the mechanic is primarily meant to be a threat to your colony, you can also use it to your advantage by kiting, microing the troops, or outright creating a massive death squad whose goal is to make enough noise to attract and clear out as many infected as possible. Just make sure you have DPS to do so, as well as space to back up in hopes of losing the aggro, or a solid defensive line acting as an anvil to break the assault upon. Your starting units, rangers, use bows. As such, they produce very little noise. They are also your fastest unit. This makes them really good at the start of the mission to slowly clear the path towards resources vital to progress. But be careful, you need soldiers center to recruit any replacements if needed, and that requires stone, which requires a quarry, which requires an energy grid reaching the resource node. All these require workers, who require housing and food, both of which need to be sustained by your energy production. And all of it won't matter shit if you let some shambling zoomer get into any of your buildings, starting an exponentially growing tide of the undead in your colony. Which puts the recent events in the topic of US gun control into a new light. The next unit you will unlock are the soldiers, or as I like to call them, the Pillar Men. Not as fast as rangers, while still faster than runners, with solid DPS and good health regen, as well as 40% damage reduction thanks to their power armor. Guess what? Quite early in the campaign you can also unlock a tag that buffs that armor to 60%. This turns them into chads, as this allows them to survive direct assault from multiple infected at once for long enough to be pulled back and start their health regeneration. But that's not all, cause once they kill enough, they reach the final step of evolution, becoming Giga Chads. This means gaining in damage per shot alongside the shot speed, which doubles their fucking DPS. The weaknesses are the short attack range and, well, as much damage as they put out, it can still not be enough, especially when special zombies become involved. But they are great to shield the VIPs during the cleanups, and when I say VIPs, I mean the snipers. Snipers are slow in movement, taking a shot, reloading, social intelligence, you name it. They are also squishy. The damage they deliver is enough to kill any non-special infected in one shot. And you can upgrade that damage later in the campaign to one-shot the extreme threats like venoms and harpies as well. And guess what? Their veterancy doubles their attack speed, meaning they become a little less reliant on soldier escort. Yeah, a big squad of snipers, if it gets going, it gets going. But I still prefer hiding them behind a meat wall of soldiers, just in case. It can be relaxing to watch. But you don't have the time to watch. You need defenses because a swarm of runners will arrive in days from now, and you need to cover all the approaches with units, walls, towers to both shield troops inside and extend their attack range, and for those you need resources. I tend to think of resources in two categories. The first is provided as a static number that acts as a capacity of what can function in the colony. The other is your mostly normal RTS deal, production building automatically spawning a number of wood into the storage every few in-game hours. The static resources are energy available in the grid, the food? Okay. And the last being the
Fucking slaves, get your ass back here!
These three are going to be the bane of your fucking existence if you aren't careful. Along with gold, they end up acting as frequent bottlenecks to your progress, a vicious cycle of fuck-up that slows you down, and the swarms will not care, they just consume. The two saving graces of the cycle are the fact that food buildings need only space and energy, and that you can also hold the production of some buildings, freeing the workers and energy necessary to function. Speaking of which, it doesn't normally bother me, but even if you researched everything available in a given research building, the game will not allow you to seize the means of production on the building that doesn't really need to function anymore. The infected come in many forms, but can overall be divided into four categories: walkers, runners, specials, and avoid at all fucking cost. To be clear, the last ones you will still have to kill. It's just approaching them on anything short of your terms is a suicide. Walkers are slow and not really threatening in combat, but again, they can still spread infection in the colony if you aren't careful enough. Runners are somewhat tougher and definitely more lively. There is a reason I put emphasis on DPS multiple times by now. Specials? Oh boy, all three of these are a pain to deal with. Chubbies aren't as slow as they might seem at first given their sheer girth. Those fuckers exist for one reason alone: exploit the highest threat priority of your troops, soaking up the damage with their thickness and letting runners reach the line and start melting. It gets worse though. Harpies, Jesus! Harpies are the infected equivalents of hypersonic ballistic missiles. They are as fast as your father in the bedroom, hit like your father after drinking all alcohol in the area, and multiple times a second. To top it off, their health is high enough to survive a sniper shot, assuming the slow sword even gets to shoot. Harpies are extremely aggressive and, more problematically, very sensitive to sound. They also don't give a fuck about your walls. These only slow them down as they jump across them. Shit! Venoms are equally dangerous, but for quite a different reason. These misshapen fucks that make the League's chat tame by comparison are the only ones with a ranged attack. And that attack also has area of effect. At least they telegraph their spitting attack with wind-up and a loud sound. With good timing, you could avoid damage. Both Venoms and Harpies are easily a common priority target threat, and you better pray you face one at a time. Then there are infected behemoths and giants. Both have insane health pools and sport high damage potentials, with added pain of melee area of effect. They are also fast. Don't pull them in if you aren't prepared to burn through their health pools. easily said when talking giants, these massive cunts are deaf and thus only react to sight. They are also big enough to have trouble going through gaps, which you can exploit to slow them down while your snipers grind them down. Behemoths are somehow even more sensitive to noise than harpies. You can attract them from nearly half a fucking map away, and their attacks are so fucking loud they often bring in all the runners from nearby areas. Fuck! Forbidden Forest! This game is difficult, mostly by design, but alas not always. There are no manual saves. Did you know how to segue into that? You can lose this game very fast if you lose control over the spread of infection in the colony, and there will be no saves coming. No, you will have to start the mission all over again. In itself, that's fine. Roguelikes exist after all, and while yes, correct, this is a different kind of a game. Many RTS games I played usually have missions that last up to maybe 1 or 2 hours if you are slow, most times less. They are billions missions can easily take 4 hours or more, and you can be forced to start over 10 minutes from the end. The game does a great job at instilling a false sense of security. Sure, roughly every 15 days you will have to face a swarm that tests your defenses. What I learned over all the hours of playing this game is there is no overkill. You either overkill or the swarm catches you with your pants down and you fucking lose. The worst offenders are the missions that start you off in a remarkably peaceful setting, with no infected on map, and an information that many days from the beginning you will face a single mega swarm coming from all directions. What this means is you have to spend hours on colony building alone. Normally you would have packs of infected to deal with, or villages of doom. Instead, you have to spend 40 in-game days, let's say, building up the defenses. And waiting. Waiting for everything. Buildings to complete. Resources to trickle down so you can build more. Gold to be deposited to storage. Tesla towers to finish, just so you can expand the space where you can build. The fucking train to deliver new workers to expand further or train new units. Or for this example, to fucking end. There's one feature I didn't talk about yet, a double-edged sword if there are any in this game. Other than noise, I suppose. The pause button. Yes, this is a fucking RTS game with an active pause. It's one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about There Are Billions to begin with, believe it or not. Me and RTS games, we do not get along. I respect them, but rarely choose to play them. You see, my ADHD and therefore lack of focus means that these have a much higher tendency to exhaust me. This little button is the solution to this problem for me. I had learned to immediately slam the pause hearing this alert.
Units under attack.
It's a godsend. It won't win the game for you, no, but it will help you afford a moment to think, assess the situation. I did call it a double-edged sword, however. Why? Well, simply put, pause is refreshingly nice to have, but it makes long missions take even longer. Ages ago at the start of this whole rambling, I mentioned that There Are Billions remind me in some aspects of games like Stronghold or Caesar 3, the city builders. City builders demand the player construct infrastructure, provide basic needs to its populace, and to achieve goals this way. There Are Billions isn't as complex as the aforementioned titles, no. However, if you squint, you start to see that Tab uses these ideas. You have to create infrastructure and meet the demands of your populace in order to further your goals of reconquering the land. Having said that, I am baffled that devs apparently didn't have the same epiphany I had roughly 20 hours into it, that this game could use a double speed button. Both in Stronghold and Caesar, you can manipulate how the time scales. I can't fathom why it's not an option here. What? Because it would make it easier for a player to miss movements of the infected and lose? That's their risk to take. If anyone can explain to me as to why this isn't a thing, please do. You did think of making it an achievement-worthy challenge to not use a pause, so I have to assume I'm just an arrogant prick and you had a very good reason not to add a speed up that I simply failed to see. Speaking of Stronghold, actually, I happen to also have an issue with how the camera works. You see, your settlement can get busy, which fits the themes, I suppose, and it can be really difficult to know what the fuck is going on. In Strongholds, you can flatten the terrain and the buildings, and you could also rotate the camera. Was it perfect there? Hell no. But how it worked there would be almost perfect for their billions. Right now, all you can do is flatten the terrain and show the grid, which admittedly helps, but not entirely, and forget about rotating the camera at all. Anything happens behind a building? Tough luck. Fuck you. By the way, man, this game does have some bugs too. Nothing critical per se, but small things that often add to frustrations. Buildings require space around them in order to be accessible, some requiring minimum distance between multiple instances, and any production buildings also require that no two buildings compete for the resource tiles. And that's okay. What isn't okay is when the game arbitrarily decides that a building isn't allowed to be built. Pathfinding often gets weird, and it's particularly frustrating when you try to pull back a wounded unit and it blocks, running in place, and not shooting, nor escaping. Speaking of pathfinding, one needs to be careful when disembarking towers. You may easily end up with your troops between the tower and the wall and stuck. Oh, and sometimes don't be surprised if something squeezes through a wall or doors on molecular level. I also don't have a clue what's up with some of the animations, but I feel like something's fucky with the state machine. Oh, and the tutorials. Perhaps a nitpick, but you know, I fucking despise pop-up tutorials in general. They break the flow, they are annoying, and more often than not, take me out of the game. Are they as bad here as they are in Borderlands 2? A game from 2000. I can't believe what I'm saying, but the tutorial prompts telling you how to WASD in TVHM are gone. Gearbox actually fixed it. I'm at a loss. No, but they are still annoying. Not to mention the tutorial prompt explaining the outpost attack missions, the game shows this one before most of them, even in the mid-game, where you likely already had to deal with at least half a dozen of such swarms. Jesus, how long is the script? Fuck! Okay, so, the exploration mission. At the start of the game you will choose one of the two agents, Slow Kalis with explosive AoE attack or Agile and Fast Calliope. In those missions you send them alone into ruins of the pre-apocalypse humanity to retrieve as much valuables and old world tech as possible, which translates to additional research and empire points. Getting those points boils down to pixel hand, and I guess the interactables are periodically highlighted, but the empire points. You use those during outpost attack missions to hire mercenaries and build basic defensive structures. And given those attack missions can throw thousands of infected at once your way, you want as much firepower as possible. Right, let's wrap this shit show up. We have narrative to talk about. Alright, the story of the campaign itself is extremely basic. It's barely there. What I did find somewhat interesting was the story of the world as unveiled during and after the exploration missions. During, when you stumble upon notes of the long-deceased, admin announcements, or just elements of environmental storytelling. After, when the mission unlocks a new article piece from the expositor. I see what you did there. And it's interesting, actually. Apparently we somehow reached 90 fucking billion people on this planet, all living in densely packed megacities. Even with whatever technological advances there were available, shit started to look grim. Then we have gaps in history. Then we find out about something called HPP 9000 and how it turned out to be the most efficient food source to have ever existed. Okay? That's a fucking marketing nightmare and a half. What does it stand for? Human penis protein? Tab, an amazing cultivation simulator, exists in the same universe, confirmed. More seriously, the first thought was equally as sarcastic when I saw it with information given, and it was
Silent Breed is people!
I mean, later we even become privy to sudden shift from shit goes down and riots are rampant to clean streets and all dandy again. How else would you fucking pull that off with, let me remind you, 90 fucking billion cunts on this wretched planet? Expositor entries then jump something like 10 years ahead. A rise in number of cases of medical abnormalities, rabies-like symptoms, skyrocketing number of fatalities and infections, extremely rapid mutations, conventional, biological, chemical weapons are being deployed. Fuck! The government straight up nukes multiple megacities, but it still doesn't help. For one infected taken out, 10 more take their place. Worse still, some attempts at finding the cure backfire horribly. Harpies? Venoms? Both side effects of attempts to either fix or get rid of the infected by increasingly extreme means. Infected behemoths? Desperate human attempts at super soldiers that succumbed to rabies Z. The storytelling of these missions is actually really well done. These places of old reek of desperate struggle, both past and present, because remember, most of the time you will explore alone, and these places are not empty. All in all, it's pretty damn well paced and has some good atmosphere to it. You go through bunkers, communication centers, industrial installations, research labs. This place is alright. I wonder... The Soylent Green is people! Sure, you had probably suspected that by now, but finding this out for the first time had genuinely taken me aback, with me going, no fucking way. Then you start connecting the dots and realize this whole fucking zombie apocalypse shitshow is the result of state-enforced cannibalism, a desperate measure to battle both gross overpopulation and resulting civil unrest. And it's so understated, so well done. And then after you've beaten the final exploration mission of the game, you get the Expositor article telling you directly that yes, HPP 9000 isn't just people. We literally started grinding out the undesirables into mincemeat. Wow. Awesome. Fuck you. I don't think I can express how angry this makes me. That thread was well and believably done, and you just decided, nah, the players are too fucking stupid, let's just smash it all with a steamroller. Way to go, guys. That said, I see a perhaps incidental parallel here. Throughout the campaign, you will find yourself struggling to fulfill the goal of your colony, reaching a certain number of people. You will struggle to provide them with food, their homes with energy, and more importantly, often just finding a damn place to build those residential buildings in the first place. What I'm saying is, deliberate or not, you do struggle with overpopulation as well. Neat. I'm still annoyed how they handle the HPP 9000 thread in the end. There Are Billions is a bizarre mix of ideas. An RTS, a city builder, a zombie apocalypse with steampunk and technological regress thrown into it as well. Fuck it, let's go! I complained a lot, but ultimately, I didn't really push myself to finish its campaign, despite difficulty spikes. Looking at you, Cape Storm, which I've been calling Cape Fear all along, because holy shit, does that mission's final swarm strike a fear into man's heart. It's a fairly unique experience, and despite all the flaws, it's not hard for me to see that it was made with passion. If I sound overly negative talking about it, it's because, believe me, I am sick of making long as fuck reviews, and I needed to cut things down. In this case, it meant leaving in some of the more negative points for the purpose of study, if you will. The gameplay can be seen as repetitive, I suppose, perhaps simplistic, and that's okay. There are billions as a colony mid-zombie holocaust simulator light. I can't think of many games that give the concept of zombie apocalypse this kind of justice, when even the weakest, slowest of walkers can become a game-ending threat. And good grief, does the title make damn sure you can't feel comfortable nor complacent about your defenses against swarms? So, do I recommend the game? I guess I do. From what I can see, it's roughly $30 full price on Steam. I'd say that's a pretty good price. I enjoyed it, was challenged by it. Overall, had fun, despite the sometimes not so small niggles. That said, I can see some of the design choices being deal breakers to players. The lack of a traditional save system is definitely the biggest one for me, given the length of a single mission. At the same time, it does serve well to build the tension. Ultimately, the choice is yours. I can only hope this was at least an entertaining watch, or that my analysis was helpful for someone dabbling with game design. After all, these are always my goals with the reviews I make. See you in the next one. This year is a damn mess. Thanks for the patience. They are billions. That is the seconds I spent on making this review. Holy shit, this was exhausting. I mean, I've literally gone through nearly 1,000 30-second clips of the game footage for this one. If you're still watching, please do me a solid and stay till the end. I promise, there will be cake. Oh, and do all the YouTube things, would you kindly? It took so long to make this one, my channel is very likely dead to YouTube's algorithm overlords. Thank you to all who helped me finish this one. If I did omit someone from the list, I apologize. 2023 is a complete mess. Special shout out to my incredible Patreon supporters: Glenn Uno, Guiderino, Wade Wilson, Łukasz Barański, Mefcio, Piotr, and Walrek. Drunken Slav had to cancel his pledge, however this one took so fucking long he technically funded most of its production. Now, please excuse me, I need to clean up this garbage pile before it gains sentience. Have a pleasant day. Unless you are one of Unity's executives, then I wish you a very pleasant retrograde ejaculation.
Unlike you people, I have no illusion as to my usefulness in an actual apocalypse. The most I can hope for is to die in a pose that confuses future archaeologists.